Hey everybody, welcome to the 1804 show, chapter 2. I'm your host, Dollar Wheel, and this is another episode of 1804 History. Yeah, I'm so glad to be back and wanted to bring you guys another episode. Um, I know I was supposed to have done this the other day, but I wanted to really get the research um, in this episode because I wanted to be very deep with this one and really go about what happened October 15th, 1958. And was pretty much a very, very serious matter. A matter that happened, 40 some odd years before Colin Kaepernick took his knee in the NFL. But it was three individuals who did this first and suffered tremendously. And I, for one, isn't racist one bit, but I felt like this story needs to be told. The story is very significant, very important because there were a lot of whites that helped out during the civil rights era who stood for justice and equality. And these three men ended up being punished unfairly for taking a stand. But these three young men, one, Tommie Smith, um, I believe he was 25 years old at the time, and the other two men, John Carlos and Peter Norman, were also young men. But pretty much this story hails from Mexico City, Mexico, and this was pretty much was to take a stand against the unfair treatment of black athletes. And black athletes felt like you only care about us during the Olympics, but what about the other times, the other days when I'm forced to live with Jim Crow and segregation and police brutality, poverty, drugs, alcohol, the whole nine. So the three men wanted to make a statement, and even though that the other guy, Peter Norman, wasn't from America, he also sympathized with the black athletes and was just like, this is unfair. I don't like how they treating y'all. So here's our idea. So Tommie Smith won the gold medal, John Carlos won the bronze, and Peter Norman won the silver. So Peter Norman pretty much was the fastest athlete out of Australia and pretty much gave them the gloves, the two men the gloves and everything. And the two black men, pretty much customized their Olympic gear. Um, the gloves symbolized strength, power, and the rag around or the rope around John Carlos' neck represented lynching, and both of their pants legs was rolled up to symbolize poverty, and they both wore black socks for black unity and everything like that. Hey, what's going on, bro? I see you. So during the national anthem, um, both of them raised their fists in the air in solidarity for the civil rights movement. And pretty much a lot of people didn't like this. A lot of people felt threatened. A lot of people didn't appreciate this gesture. So they got called every racial thing that you can imagine. And it was such controversy. And it was just one of those things that you just be like, dang. And there was relinquished of their medals right away, all three of them. And Tommie and John was forced to leave Mexico within 48 hours. So pretty much they had to be gone from Mexico by the weekend. They got sent back home. And even a TV news reporter, Howard Cosell, defended them and told the U.S. Olympic Committee that there was hypocritical, that it was unfair, it was unjust to be singling out these two men for no reason, all because they wanted to protest. It was a peaceful protest. They wasn't encouraging nobody to riot or to hurt anybody, to kill anybody. They was just doing their First Amendment rights, constitutional rights. And there's just another thing of history repeating itself because any time a black man or black people exercise their amendment or constitutional rights, it's a problem. You know, you're not supposed to go against the grain. You're not supposed to speak your mind. You're not supposed to stand for anything. When you do these type of sports or you're a type of celebrity, you're supposed to just shut up and just perform. Otherwise, they will make your life a living hell. And to me, when people be worshiping these athletes today, like Jordan, LeBron, um, Serena Williams, and a little bit everybody, and they don't stand for nothing. They don't. They may speak about the unfairness that we go through, but they ain't not going to jeopardize that bag. And these men could have been household names. They could have been on Wheaties boxes. They could have millions of dollars in endorsement deals. But yet, they took it upon themselves to stand for something. And they realized that, hey, I'm black first. When I go home, I'm a nigga when I go home. So I respect that they had the courage to do something that everybody wasn't going to be so happy about. And I respect that. And they was kicked out of the Olympic team. And as for John Norman, he was pretty much like brutalized when he went back home to Australia. All three of these men was unemployed, homeless. They couldn't find work for multiple years because their reputation and smear campaigns started, and they couldn't make a decent living. They couldn't really get no commercial time, none of that. So it was just a a bad thing for three brave men to do because it was just people felt like they weren't getting treated fairly. And they just wanted to make a statement without speaking it. And they made a statement. And even 2022, it's the same shit. It's the same thing. And when and where do we have a voice without something being compromised or something being infiltrated? We shouldn't feel the need to be silent all the time or to feel like that we can't speak our mind and give our grievances because we are human beings. But everything's a race thing. Everything is competition. And these sports organizations and these GMs, you might as well say that they slave owners. You might as well say that they run a systems by a plantation, like a plantation. To take away somebody's livelihood and everything that they worked hard for and everything that they try to be. It's just unfortunate. And that's why like I respect these men. I don't respect people who just get the bag and be like, yeah, we donate our money to charities and stuff like that. But everybody know that charity doesn't get to the ghetto. It doesn't get to the hood. You know what I'm saying? They talk about all these charities, but the hood is still run down, still decimated. And us as well, we have to take responsibility for why our neighborhoods like that. But it just makes you mad knowing that if you stand for something, if you speak on race or you speak on just the unfairness of us so-called minorities in this country, you will be ruined. You will be a target. But I respect the fact that Peter Norman, who had nothing to do with this, he was practically like a hero. He gave up a lot. He gave up his livelihood and gave up his career to make a statement. And sometimes you got to do things that you don't want to do in order to do things that you have to do. And it's only fair and it's only right to take a part of history like that, to take part and standing up for something that's right. And a lot of people would rather go wrong before they go right. And this happens a lot. This happens every day. And this is why it's important that we keep these people in our memories. We keep these people um, legacies alive because nothing's new under the sun. And now they finally are being um, inducted into Hall of Fames and finally getting press, finally getting the recognition that they deserve after 50 years. It took 50 years for these men to be considered heroes when they was exiled for no reason, all because they didn't want to forget the struggles that their people faced in their own country. And this is Mexico. This is not the United States. But it just tells you that racism is everywhere. We are hated everywhere. It's not because you leave America, you are hated everywhere. So, um, it's just not fair knowing that when you speak your mind and you speak from the heart and you do something remarkable, you get treated like you committed treason or something. So the two men, Tommie Smith and John Carlos, have statues at San Jose State University without the statue of Peter Norman. But he also has a suburb named after him in Sydney, Australia. And he has a painting, a mural of himself. And he died in sorry. He died in 2006, where John Carlos and Tommie Smith was his pallbearers. But yeah, that includes the story. But you can't help but to be upset. You can't help but to feel some type of way when you read stuff like this because it just shows us that they respect our talent, but they don't respect us. As long as we, you know, bringing home medals and bringing home championships and this and that, we would never be equal. And the moment you speak your mind, the moment you stand up for injustice, it's over. And I'm sick of that. You know, when is going to be a time where we get treated fairly, when we actually celebrate it as being human beings? You know, I'm sick of us having to just dunk a ball and run a touchdown. Um, Vice versa. You know what I'm saying? I'm sick of that. You know, when we gonna be celebrated for being human beings and being men, being women, you know, our talent is the only way we gonna have something. But what about our minds? What about our work ethic? What about our moral standards? When is that going to be celebrated? You know, our integrity, our courage, our bravery. You know, I'm sick of that. And I just want us to get on the right track. I just want us to understand that these people risk it all. They risk the bag. And it turned out millions of dollars to make a statement and to speak up against the unfairness of the 1968 Olympic team. You know, it's just when you sit back and think about just how unfair, like they couldn't eat in the same cafeteria, they couldn't sleep in the same rooms, use the same showers, none of that. So keep in mind of the opportunities that you have today, that you are able to share a locker room, you able to put on the same uniform, that you are able to play a game without being called every racial epithet in the world and to know the man, you know what I'm saying? So that will include this episode. Um, Appreciate everybody who watched. Like, comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel, the 1804 Chapter 2, and I will see you soon. Peace.